Why are we doing this, Ben? Why are we so focused on energy? Why are we focused on bringing all of this new capability online? It's for our old friends out east, right? The number one, or what used to be called the pacing threat. I don't know what we're calling it now. We haven't seen the NDS yet, National Defense Strategy, hopefully soon. But it wouldn't be a week on the steam zone without a little bit of China. What's going on out east, Ben?
Yeah, Chinese Coast Guard rams a Filipino fishery boat. Filipinos respond and say they are illegally fishing. Chinese saying it's illegal encroachment, and they're saying it's their territorial waters. So we got an old-fashioned territorial dispute, which, I lived this when I was on a Marine Expeditionary Unit, floating through some of these waters, or close to some of these waters. And this is going on every single day. We talk about reindustrialization. We're going to do cool stuff to great power competition. But this is the day-to-day life. What do you think about this story?
Yeah, this is such a classic kind of boil the frog example of how the Overton window in foreign affairs shifts. And for folks who are like, why is he using those weird words? Let me just make this plain English for you, right? This is the latest fight in a long string of fights around sovereignty in the South China Sea, in what China sees as its area of influence, its zone of influence. These things were happening day after day. It's normal out there at this point. We don't even cover it very much in the news anymore. But this was, when it first started happening, this was a big deal. The micro battles that happen, that whittle away at an adversary's will to contest. The Philippines are like, what are we going to start a war with China over this every time they tussed up one of our fishing boats? We don't want a war with China, right? And you just kind of, all right, fine, we'll fish a little closer to the shore, a little closer to the shore, a little closer to the shore. Before you know it, your sovereignty is eroded. So there was once upon a time where the United States would puff out our chests and we would say, thou shalt not do that to those poor Filipino fishermen. I'm sure there are diplomatic rebukes happening behind closed doors, but you got to think, how does that play relative to the negotiations coming up around rare earth mineral restrictions, man? Like, where do you think that is on the Filipino fishermen and the rare earth mineral restrictions? I would argue that probably high on Secretary of State Rubio's list is maybe not the Filipino fisherman. It might be down there in the teens, maybe in the 20s, in terms of his list of priorities. So by just doing this is a perfect example, though, for folks here at home who say, well, we don't really know what China will do as a world power. Like, maybe they're very calm and peaceful and they like to just stay within their borders. It's like, we've seen this pattern start to play out over the last 2 decades, right? We may not always pay attention. We may not always be listening. This is who they are. This is how they operate. They have sharp elbows and they will do what they can get away with. And so we'd be wise, I think, to learn from this example. And even if the United States is not prepared to, and nor should we, go to war over a little good old-fashioned fisherman boat ramming, it's important to include this in the data set of understanding of how the CCP and how the People's Republic of China operates in their neighborhood.
I think those are all great points, Noah. What I would add in is exactly what you say about the boiling the frog. Yes, there are higher ticket items on Secretary Rubio's plate, but each of these little things, each of these micro battles adds up, and it can create a feeling around the region. It can affect who our allies are. These little things matter, right? The whole revolution for America started with a little tea party. These small things add up. Let's keep tracking this and monitoring it.
Tea party in Boston, a little fish party in the Philippines. Who knows? Who's to say? The possibilities are endless. All right, let's go ahead and close that one out.